All right, everybody, Smarter Sculpted Physique. Welcome to another episode. Man, have I got a special guest for you guys. First of all, though, I got to thank everybody for making my book, Lean Without Trying, #1 on Amazon when it launched, which was pretty friggin' awesome. So thank everybody for that. And speaking of books, we're going to get to another one straight away. I'm welcoming back my fitness brother from another mother, JC Santana, the one and only. So I'm going to reintroduce him to you guys because it's been a while. And for some reason, it bothers me that I have to even give JC an intro, but we're going to get into why that bothers both of us, actually. So let's talk expertise. Juan Carlos Santana, Master of Education, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, author 17 books and manuals, produced over 70 DVDs, published more than 300 articles, many in peer-reviewed journals, such as National Strength and Conditioning Association's journal. His text's been used internationally in over 20 universities. JC is the founder and director, Institute of Human Performance, IHP, in Boca Raton, Florida. For the last 17 years, IHP is consistently recognized one of the top training facilities in the world, bar none. His IHP certification system certified over 10,000 trainers worldwide in over 15 countries, including more than 200 Olympic coaches in China and South America. And if you're one of my followers and you're not certified under JC's methodologies yet, what are you waiting for? Get out there. His IHP mentorship program has welcomed over 400 fitness professionals from over 20 countries. I mean, I should read this slower, folks, because you can't absorb this level of expertise. JC's been part of the strength and conditioning programs for several Florida Atlantic University sports teams for over 2 decades. And you don't last 2 decades at that level if you don't know a little something about something. He was responsible for the strength and conditioning programs for men's basketball, men's and women's cross country, and track and field, women's volleyball, men's and women's swimming. So you know he's got the endurance, metabolic endurance, strength and conditioning, etc. JC, certified strength and conditioning specialist with distinction and a fellow at the National Strength and Conditioning Association. He's also certified as a health and fitness instructor by the American College of Sports Medicine. In addition, he's a certified senior coach and club coach, course instructor with the U.S. weightlifting team, and a USA track and field level 1 coach. JC served 2 terms on the National Strength and Conditioning Association Board of Directors. So for 8 years, he was a sports-specific conditioning editor for the National Strength and Conditioning Association Journal. He served as National Strength and Conditioning Association's vice president, chairman of the National Strength Conditioning Coaches Conference, member of the National Strength Conditioning Association Conference Committee, and National Strength and Conditioning Association State Director of Florida. So as a college adjunct professor, he's taught strength and conditioning at Florida Atlantic University. As a Florida Atlantic University grad with bachelor and master's degrees in exercise science, JC's involved in several ongoing research studies with numerous universities, is currently working on his PhD in exercise physiology, although I don't know why you need that at this point, but that's just for the love of the game, I guess. Founded in 2001, IHP provides an unparalleled training environment for elite athletes, including Olympic athletes in a variety of sports, world-class tennis champions, NFL, NHL, MLB players, world champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts fighters, numerous NCAA Division I teams, and hundreds of nationally ranked teen hopefuls from a cross-section of a variety of sports. So you can see, like I said, he's got the power, he's got the strength, he's got the endurance, the metabolic endurance, all those things. And I can tell you, I mean, geez, I need to get in shape just to announce your qualifications, bud. So I can tell you, if you can't hear true expertise in this discussion, then you don't know what expertise is, which is why I went out of my way to just read you the scroll of JC Santana's credentials. So, and furthermore, if once this discussion gets going, you aren't motivated to up your game when you hear JC speak, then you aren't friggin' listening. So listen up, Buttercup, and let's get into her. JC, hope that didn't embarrass you too much, but you and I have had conversations of what passes for expertise these days, and I thought it was important to outline and reintroduce you to people because recently I had one of my own clients who's an expert in training, travels the world, et cetera, and I mentioned you, and he said, "Oh no, I never heard of him until I listened to your podcast." And I was like, "How's that? How's that even possible in the world of fitness and everything?" But we both know why and how it's possible. But I'll let you comment on that, and then we'll get right into it. I think we'll limit today to biomechanics because I've been talking a lot about psychology and spiritual stuff lately. So I want to get your take on some biomechanics stuff that we've written back and forth about. But first, just an introductory comment.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and I'll tell you, man, I'm old. I feel old because you're in the game and you're moving forward, and you don't know how much you've done. Because I don't pay attention to the 17 books. You know, I always say you're only as good as your last one. So the only thing in my mind is this last book, and I'm already thinking of the next book. I've already got the outline for the next certification. So I'm in the game. Alistair Overeem, MMA superstar.
Sure.
Contacted me this morning, so we may be training. So tomorrow I got to meet with him right after this this podcast. So that's my life. I don't pay attention to the whole 16, 17 other books, the NSCA, and everything you've accomplished. You kind of forget about when you're in the game. I'm in the game. I'm not sitting there looking at my trail and go, wow. You know, I don't sit for a second.
And I get that. I get that. You know, I was a little remiss. Speaking of being in the game and books, let me just hold this up, and we're going to post it on when I post the video to YouTube. But hopefully, everyone can see that JC's latest book, JC's Total Body Transformation. What 300 pages or so of information?
Programs, 300 pages. We cover everything from coaching to assessment, nutrition, short-term, acute program variables, long-term. Chronic variables. We have hypertrophy programs, rehab programs, male programs, female programs, you name it, it's there. I mean, I really don't know if I have anything left in me for new material.
Right. You know? Okay. Fair enough.
From now on, either I'm going to start writing some socially oriented books, you know, on the state of humanity and whatnot. I think that's going to be my last 20 years. Is going to be on that, and then always more programming. From here in, there's no more need to talk about functional training, hypertrophy, program design. It's just a matter of programming. Results. Can you do things better? Can you do more with less? You know, we're always talking about these people that want to do so much volume and so much stuff, and I always ask them, hey man, do you do you want to train to be good in a gym? Or is the idea to run faster or to play better? And you know, usually oh, I want to run faster. Then why are you running 150 miles a week?
Well, a lot of people don't know even what they want, right? So that's part of our job is to like break that down for them.
Well, you know, most of the time, if I'm dealing with let's say a marathon runner or a 5K, 10K triathlete, they know what they want, and it's usually I want to perform better. Sure. But somehow, okay, they know that, but somehow there's a huge disconnect on how they get there. And everybody's pro volume, pro how much can you torture your body? You know, we're in the Goggins area where, you know, run 3 marathons in a week, and pee out your penis and enjoy the pain. And no, man, no. You know, I'm heading in the other direction. It's how much can I do? What is the minimum that I can do that'll get me the maximum results? Yeah. That's where my head's at.
And you and I have been on similar trajectories for a while. Like you mentioned, going into more social consciousness. You can see one of my books on that topic right behind me there, standing up. One of the first books I wrote, actually, called Your Truth is Calling, connecting the dots to self-awareness. And yeah, a lot of the times, even in fitness, what I end up doing is reverse sort of engineer why someone has a cosmetic fitness goal. What do they think it's going to deliver to them that they don't already have inside them? And then I get them to do the and then what question 5 times. And then they'll see that often what they think they're going to get out of a fitness journey is something entirely different. Like, you know, getting to such and such % of body fat will make me feel this way. Well, maybe making you feel that way is what's going to get you to that % of body fat. It's not the other way around. So,
or if you feel that way with your internal God-given mechanism, you may not need the single-digit body fat. And if you do, God
that's
bless
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
There's a way to get there. No problem.
And you even wrote in your book, a good proportion of people that come to you for that. Some get there to the 6-pack abs, some don't, but they all arrive at the same destination of feeling better about themselves. And that's what coaching should be. You know, I said in a recent podcast myself is that, you know, a deeper level of coaching, you're going beyond what the person wants and you're taking them to how they expect to feel when they get there. And right. That's what you're really taking them to, that deeper level of you know, how they want to be, not what they want to look like.
Exactly.
Or, you know, but how they want to be when they get there. That's really what their goal is sort of defining. And then, and that varies for every single person, right? Because sure. You've got males and females who had bad body images growing up. And so, you know, that's their quest. And then what they think they're going to get out of that is that sort of self-respect and, you know, all those other things. And then, you know, what I've told you a million times is how eerily similar the language you and I speak is without even talking to each other. We use the same words, we use the same phrases, but delivering people to that promised land through the journey, not through, okay, when you arrive at this destination, then you'll feel good about yourself.
Right.
You know, and then, but anyway, here I was saying we're going to talk biomechanics, and we're already on that spiritual plane. So,
right.
Well, let's get to some biomechanics that you were surely the expert in. Let's talk about some fallacies. Let's start with balance training, and I'll just let you unleash.
Well, you know, and I was part of that balance movement back with John Blevernick in the mid-90s. Okay. John Blevernick was a guy who made his popularity known with the balance training. And I attended a full weekend workshop, came back, and I was walking on 2x4s and doing ball drills on 2x4s. And I even came up with a BRAD system and even trademarked it. BRAD stood for balance, reaction, acceleration, agility, and deceleration. And so I preceded everything with balance, and you hear it. So you're like a parrot, you repeat it, and then you try to find some logic in exactly what it is that you're saying. And Mel Siff called me on it. A while ago, about 20 years ago, he called me on it.
Tell everyone what a level of expertise Mel Siff is, because they probably don't know now that he's gone, but wow.
He's the Michael Jackson. He's a prince, a Michael Jackson of strength and conditioning. He was one of those guys that you were not going to touch him on the history and of strength training, and you were not going to touch him on exercise physiology. You were just not going to touch him. Now, you could get him on some practical aspects, but if he took you to theory and you went that route with him, forget it. There was no way you're beating him. And I had the great pleasure of being stuck with him in Washington, D.C. We were snowed into Washington, D.C. during an IDEA conference 6 months before he passed. And It was just a pleasure to spend time with Mel. So anyways, Mel Siff was a genius. And he said, well, all this balance and single leg stuff that you're doing, all these proprioceptives, how do you generate forces? And I would come back with him with the dogma. Well, you can't generate forces unless you're balanced. And that sounds good, but what does it mean? What does it mean? And the way I can simplify it is, okay, a pyramid on its base is balanced.
Right. Yeah.
By definition.
Right.
Okay? And it's very stable. You can do anything to that pyramid, grow anything you want on it, it ain't going to move.
But if it's upside down.
If it's upside down, balancing on its point, it's balanced but not stable. So we are talking. He's saying, well, he's asking me, hey, when that pyramid, he didn't ask me this, but If he would have asked me this, he would have made me see it. But we were in this theoretical discussion.
Sure.
That what he was saying was, is that if that pyramid is on its point, how can you put anything on it? How can you put forces against it? It can't hold anything.
Strength, power.
Yeah, and I would say, well, it has to be balanced before you can put anything on it. That was the, that was the circle around, because nobody had simplified it. Okay.
Right.
Now, actually, I stabilized most positions. So, for example, let's say that I want to do a single leg movement, and single leg is important because, single leg balances the 7th frame. If this is your hip and this is your leg here, all right, and your hip collapses, then you can't put forces into the ground when you swing, when you change directions, and when you run. So it's important. But the question now remains, if I'm on a single leg, how much load can I put? Okay, let's say you can put 100 units on your body while you balance on a single leg. Now the question is, okay, am I better off with 100 units on a pure single leg? What if I put the other leg down and just touch it enough that I stabilize the situation? And let's say that I take 10% off. I'm 90% on one leg, but now I can load it with 150 pounds. So do you want to have 100 pounds on a single leg, or would you like 90% of 150? And
well, you better give everybody the answer to that, because they might not be following you. But
90% of 150 is a lot more than 100. Okay, it's 135 pounds. So that single unit, that single hip, sees 135 pounds with more rest, more load, and you can get stronger. Now you'll say, well, you're never training on a single leg. And then you go, well, that's why running and the running drills come in. There's your final transfer. But to try to get the identical transfer, okay, that's when we get too silly with the functional movements. We try to get exactly the same position, and it doesn't work. Because when you're stagnant in a gym, all right, your single position is being balanced by your body. When you're running and you put that foot down, that single position, yes, it's huge loads vertically, but it's being balanced by angular momentum. The same thing that keeps a top up. When a top is spinning like this, you have what's called a right-hand rule. When the top spins this way, there is a momentum that brings it up, okay, perpendicular to the direction of rotation. So this is how something stays up when it's circling this way, like a basketball.
Right.
It balances on your finger only when it's spinning. Angular momentum is one of those qualities that keeps it upright. Well, these types of things also occur during surfing, during running, during a side when you're angling a bike sideways to make a turn. Without speed, without momentum, you got nothing, buddy.
But not just functional stuff. The training that gets them to do all those things, better, stronger, faster. Now we're talking about things like base of support, right? So a wide base of support is the pyramid on its base, and then you can have a staggered stance and a single leg stance. And I remember even before balance became the thing, and this industry loves its pet vogue trends, it was explained to me way back before I even knew what balance training was. Fred Hatfield was one of the first to talk about this stuff, and he said, you wouldn't change a flat tire by trying to use your car jack in the sand. It's not going to work.
Right.
Like you're not going to jack that car up because it's got no foundational base. It's not stable. It's not steady. It's not, so he was referring, and of course his expertise was bench, squat, and deadlift. And what do you need to do those at a gazillion pounds? You need a sturdy base, right? So, one of the other things, so I had that to sort of go on when considering designing programs. But then I also, one day I remember, as balance training came into its vogue, trend, I walked into the gym one day and a trainer was training Eric Lindros. Do you know that name? Eric Lindros was like Hall of Fame hockey player. And he had him squatting with 275 on the bar on a Bosu ball. And I was like, man, what the F are you doing to this $1 million athlete? Do you not realize this guy makes his living on a 1/4-inch blade? Balance isn't his issue. What are we doing here? Like we're sliding.
They think, ooh, they have to balance on a quarter inch. Do you know the amount of balance? I'm going, dude, by the time that guy's called a hockey player, he's got more balance on that quarter inch than you have on your feet. So forget about the balance. This guy needs power. This guy needs unilateral power, rotational stiff, the whole bit. Train that.
Yeah.
That.
So to sum that up, the big lie of balance training is what, in one sentence, that everyone can absorb?
That you actually need balance. There's the big lie.
But not in the way it's marketed in training lore.
Yeah, you don't need static balance unless you're a Cirque du Soleil acrobat, and then you still have that balance already. If not, you wouldn't be Cirque du Soleil acrobat. And your practice that you do, or your shows, that for these people, their show is their practice, unless they're choreographing something or rehearsing a new move. But even that rehearsal and the shows, that's all the transfer you need. That's all the transfer you need. So you don't have to create the skill of balance that's already inherent to an activity. The person that's involved in that activity already has that inherent balance, like riding a bike. You're not going to work on Lance Armstrong. Nobody worked on Lance Armstrong balance. Does it take balance to ride a bike? Yeah, but once you've got it, it's a done deal.
Well, and you explain that in your first book, and I wanted to mention all your other books, like Essence of Program Design. I mean, you explained that brilliantly when you talked about, if you try to ride a bike as slow as you can, your balance is all over the friggin' place. But when you have the momentum, like you were, like, again, spinning that basketball, then you're not so much worried about balance as you're riding that bike. But try to ride a bike super, super slow, or on a unicycle super, super slow, then balance becomes this thing, and you're only going to quote unquote learn by doing, right? So taking that, well, there's two ways I want to go with this. So I want to reel it back in, but since we're talking about balance, I also want to talk about imbalance, because that became the next vogue trend. And I tried to explain a lot of people that I train, I've got all these imbalances, apparently, some chiropractor told me. And I was like, well, you know what? Along the lines of what you said, gymnasts learn to be gymnasts at a very young age, and they make that brain connection, and you're not likely to teach them that as adults. And, you don't need to reinforce, the Cirque du Soleil guy doesn't need to reinforce what he can do agility wise. But I used to tell people, like, I was born left-handed. So when my dad wanted to get me into sports, he bought me southpaw glove. And then when it came time to do the sports, I did everything right-handed. It didn't make any sense. So there's people, hockey players, they either shoot left or they shoot right. That's a natural inclination for them. Right. You don't want to train that out of them. A tennis player hits with their right hand or they hit with their left hand, but it's a natural. No one grabbed them at age 5 and said, hit with your left hand.
Yeah, let's make you a right-hander. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're, a pitcher in baseball. He's a lefty or he's a righty, and he's that way because he was born that way. So to think that over the course of years and years of developing that proprioception and whatever in that, the way that person operates, to think that now you've got to compensate for an imbalance by trying to make these things equal, that never made sense to me. Where am I wrong?
You're not. I mean, you're born right-handed. I mean, try to balance out somebody like Tiger Woods and see what happens. You'll have a big company like Nike after you because you just messed up their $100 million player.
And yet I see it on the gym floor all the time, though. And then people start writing me, "Oh, Scott, my left biceps way weaker than my right biceps," and and then the trainer in the gym said I need to correct this imbalance I'm like, well, bilateral deficit and all that stuff, but I'll let you run with that one.
It's too much. You know what? Look, I train unilaterally. That meaning I do lunges. I love lunges. I love alternating curls. I love dumbbell presses. And do with your right what you do with your left. Yeah, you're going to have one side that likes it better than the other for reasons that we may not even know. for reasons that we may not even know. It doesn't matter what the reason is. The fact is that one side likes it more than the other. Well, do it with both sides and let God figure it out. That's what I say. Do both sides and let the boys play on Saturday. That's it. That's
why
it.
Why are we trying to say all of a sudden that that's wrong? You know what I mean? Like oh well, like you're feeling more on the right side than the left side because you were born to throw a ball with your right hand and you've been doing it for 20 years. All of a sudden we should correct that. It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, you have a droopy shoulder. So does every tennis player. So my whole thing is our job as strength and conditioning coaches is to take what you have. And okay, if you have a huge bilateral imbalance, or in other words, you're much stronger on one side than the other.
That's different. Yeah.
Or morphologically, you're much bigger. You know what? I'm not gonna do 3 extra sets with the weak side. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do right and left and let the body figure it out.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on this in my book of things like reciprocal innervation and cross innervation, and like the studies they did with people who had one limb in a cast and trained the other limb and maintained their strength in the
their reduction in strength is greatly reduced, especially if you do big single limb training, and they think it's because a lot of or they postulate that it may be large amounts of circulating hormones, sorry, let me turn this off because I don't even know how this is hooked up to my computer. But anyways, so yeah, man, I don't get crazy with all that science. I don't get crazy with none of that. I train the right, I train the left, I give you gas. I try to fortify that human will. So I cover as many bases as I can. And then I'm going to let the boys play Saturday. That's it. Done deal.
It's interesting when you mention the science, because one of my catchphrases has always been science should inform but not dictate what goes on the floor.
Science doesn't do anything. All right. Science doesn't do anything. Science attempts to explain what we have known for many years. That's it. Yeah. Science hasn't led anything, especially in training. Maybe in some, I don't know, in pharmacology. Maybe science in a petri dish can figure out a compound that beats cancer. Okay, I'll give you that. But in the world of human domain, where people are actually practicing a craft, forget it. Even Dr. Kramer said about 20 years ago when the whole functional training started coming, and he said, there's no way we're going to study you guys because you're going so fast. It takes us 2 or 3 years to publish a study. By that time, you use a different size ball. Diagonal's no good. Now it's up and down. Now up and down is no good. Now diagonal's better. Now up and down is good for this situation, but not for that one. Diagonal. You guys are moving so fast on the practice side because it's beyond the years of Berger in the 50s and 60s where we were studying, okay, 3 times 5 or 5 times 3. Or about 3 times 10. What? That's easy to study, okay? After that, how are you going to study ropes? Battling ropes. How are you going to study the blade? How are you going to study stability ball, medicine balls, the 50 million exercises that we have? And then now the combination of this hybrid training that we're doing, how are you going to study that? You're not.
Hybrid is a good, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's one of the things I wanted to mention. In your other book, Functional Training, you're one of the only ones I've read that actually included, a list of equipment for functional training. And you're the only one that included an adjustable bench. And you went out of your way to state why. Like you were like, not many other functional coaches are going to claim that an adjustable bench has any part in the functional thing because of the whole, foot meets the ground and all the rest of it. But, I just like that integrating element that you were more, you could see it, whereas other people are like, I'm in this camp, therefore I can't be in that camp. Or
no, if you look at the first book, I have the exercises, the traditional strength training exercises, and I have chest presses and shoulder presses and squats and leg presses, everything, because they wanted me to do only functional training. I go, I don't train in a vacuum. I'm not going to write a book in a vacuum.
There you go.
What? I'm a hybrid guy. I'm Bruce Lee days. That's the guy that influenced me. Okay. Yeah. You don't fight one way. If you limit yourself to one discipline, you're gonna get your butt kicked. So if you only boxed and you don't kick, the kickers are gonna crush you. If you kick and you don't do hands, the hand guys are gonna crush you. And if you strike and you don't grapple, the wrestlers are gonna take you down. So you better learn how to use everything. Well, the same thing goes for training. So I said, I'm not going to write the book unless I can say this is functional, but this is the best way to train in a hybrid manner, depending on what you want. You want hypertrophy? Good luck getting it on a stability ball. You can do push-ups on a stability ball until you're blue in the face, and you're not going to get it. You want hypertrophy on the chest? Get on that bench and hopefully put a barbell, preferably, and if not, dumbbells will do as well, and get busy with that thing.
Well, here's I mean, in your new book, one of the first things you said, I don't want to paraphrase you, see if I can find it here. Well, I can't find the exact, I'm looking for the exact quote here that I wrote down. But you said there's pretty much nothing as effective as traditional bodybuilding workouts. So
to build muscle.
Yeah, along those lines, like you were, and then of course your re-emphasis that I have to re-emphasize all the time as well, that tirelessly repeating the basics. Like,
yes,
why is that so hard to grasp? And why does everyone think?
Because we have the attention span of a squirrel now in society. All marketing, all promotions, all things. Everything's short, because they know that we'll flick through the channel. If we're not getting our dose of dopamine with what we see, boom, next channel. We can't sit there and pay attention to anything. That's number one. Number two, since Amazon will deliver in 24 hours, heck, wait for something till Friday? Are you kidding me? No, Kindle, bang, now. So the delayed gratifications is out the door. So there you have it. People don't want to wait. That's it. So repeating the basics? No, I want to be entertained. I want to do something every different. Oh, and I want it by tomorrow.
Yeah, you talk about that in your book. That I'm looking right at the quote. Training is not meant to be entertaining. Yet, how many people? Not only do they want their training to be fun, we've both heard, oh, I'm bored on my current program, when they're nowhere near a mastery phase of their current program. But not only do they want training to be entertaining, but they can't even, in regards to what you were saying, I call it training ADHD.
Right.
They and we talked about this on the last podcast, right? In between sets, they're right on their phone. I don't know what they're doing on their phone, but how does that lead to focused attention on the job at hand? When every minute and a half you're scrolling through your phone. I don't get that. I've never got that.
We don't allow cell phone use at IHP. We've got signs everywhere: no cell phone use, no cell phone use. And if you're using the phone and one of my trainers is near you and he doesn't say anything, he gets pulled into my office. No, you're not. You're not going to be on the phone on a treadmill. You're not going to be phone on the floor. No, you're here to train. And if you can't respect that energy, that environment, that dedication, you don't have that. Leave. Go to another club, and where the tights are, where the big lips are, where the big boobs are, and the phones. That there's other clubs that'll let you do that. This is not one of them.
And I was going to say, on the floor, that must lead to a level of real productive energy that's got to be felt. I mean, if it's so consistent across the board that no one's on their phone in the gym floor and everyone's working, that has to be a conducive environment for productivity.
Well, the thing is that you attract who you are, right? If you sell out, guess what comes in? People who sell out.
Right.
So if you have this environment, change the music and this and that, you have that environment. You're going to get to those people that want to be catered and want massages and no, man. We don't grab your towel. We don't put your weights away. The people who are getting personally trained help the trainer put the weights away after each circuit.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't wait till the end, and I'm not your maid. Grab
Yeah, I'm not your slave. I'm your trainer.
Go
Yeah.
do it. No, man. We run a serious ship, so we have a serious clientele. Everybody comes in. He goes, "Wow, I love the energy." Today a guy came in. He goes, "I love your space." That's how he phrased it.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, how would that not be conducive to a work environment? Of course it would be productivity. I remember in the gym, I stopped going to the gym, by the way. I have a gym at home and I just got tired of the nonsense. But I was at the gym one day and a trainer said to a client, run of the mill to average person client. No, not high performance by any means. But the trainer said to the client, okay, go over and grab the 40s and come on back here. And one of the head trainers pulled him aside and said, you should be grabbing the weights for them. Don't make them go and get the weights. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is part of like a master trainer means you go over and get the weights for them. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, I may set it up while he go get some medicine ball or something like that, or if he's
That's
drinking.
different. That's different. You're engaged.
A courtesy is one thing. A demand and a habit is something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll show some courtesies. We see the guy that really put it to himself. I may go get him a towel because if he's
he's lying on the floor sucking air. Yeah.
If he's sucking it and then he's not lying on the floor because we don't let him lie on the floor, and we don't let him scrunch their face. And if I see him really holding on to his
saw, yeah. I mean, I want to save that one. I want to save that one for our next podcast because that's a whole podcast. Because that's one of the things.
Doing that, and he's focused on the task at hand, which is the coaching. Then I will holler at somebody, "Hey, wet towel, please."
Yeah.
I'll baby him. If I see him going into the dungeon, man, I will get him water. I will stroke him. I'll massage him. I will compensate that behavior. And then tell him, I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you. You hear me? And I'll grab him like this by his face. And boom, I'm very proud of you. So he knows.
I want to just tell everybody that's listening to this one to tune into our next one because we're going to get into the facial thing because today I was thinking about it in my own training session and man, that's something I'll never grasp because I'm all contorting my face and grunting and groaning and
you know what? It's a habit. Look at YouTube and watch anybody train. I mean, from Flex Wheeler all the way to Ronnie and all the way to whoever, everybody. It's rep number 1. The late Rich Piana. Okay. Rep number 1.
That's me. That's me, man. Fully admit it.
Yeah, bro. You're not even working yet. What is the suffering? But if you look at Generation Iron, I believe is the name of the movie. Or Generation Iron 1 and 2. Man, let me tell you, bodybuilding is a very, very, very dark art.
Oh. Well, I was in it for, you're preaching to the choir here, right? And
man, it's dark. It's lonely.
That's why I left it.
Yeah. It's self-punishing. It's massive discipline. These people have no idea what bodybuilders go through. They have no idea. The loneliness, forget about the self-perception. Okay, and different things that can come from that, from dysmorphia to whatever. Forget about that. Just the mechanics of bodybuilding are beyond what most people will ever fathom. The discipline, the torture, just the grind. It's not one day. It's not 2 days. It's 24/7, man. The volume of work, these people have no clue what bodybuilders are capable of. That volume of work would kill most people. And forget about the steroids, because the natural ones will get after it too.
Yeah, it's still a dark world though. For reasons I'll hold off. That's a whole other. Yeah, that's like 10. That's 10 podcasts, let alone one podcast. But
anyways, so we look at that coaching. And the environment of IHP is very important to us. The repetitive nature, back to the biomechanics. There's no way you could fathom telling an athlete or expecting an athlete to tell you, I'm bored of swinging the club the same way. Can you imagine, like one of the top golfers telling his coach, let's swing it left-handed. Let's do something. Give me a bat, because this is boring me. Can you imagine that?
But that's, the general population has no, I mean, I've been saying this for ages now, that I wish people had the kind of people that I train for weight loss, physique transformation, I wish they had a deeper grasp of professional athletics, because you could make so many strong metaphors and analogies in those cases, right? Like, one of the things that struck me, I'm working on something, I can't really reveal it till Monday, pending the outcome of the Super Bowl, but you're talk about skill versus will, right? And then a lot of these people, going back to the bodybuilding thing, they're glorifying people because of a juice produced physique, when these people have no concept. Like, you can talk about how arduous the bodybuilding lifestyle is, but it doesn't generate knowledge because you can jam 5 cc's of steroids into your ass. I never saw anything from that Rich Piana guy. I didn't start covering. I didn't even know who he was till he passed. I didn't see anything that remotely resembled a grasp of, deep training, knowledge, education, experience, all the reasons people will go to these guys, when, it's like saying a guy is tough because he can pull a trigger in an urban neighborhood. Like, it doesn't make you tough.
Right.
If you want to be tough, get in a friggin' UFC ring. Like, play professional football. Go somewhere, it's like the song says, you walk around like you're the toughest in the world, but you stay away from where it's the roughest.
Yeah.
And the bodybuilding thing is the same thing. You got all these guys giving out this advice, and I forget who it was. There's a YouTube clip of these bodybuilders before and after steroids, and I never looked that way when I dropped steroids. I look the same way now as I did on steroids, just 30 pounds lighter. But my whole physique didn't just suddenly up and leave, because I had some knowledge instilled in me from the very beginning, from my mentor, Bill Pearl, on down, Fred Hatfield, everyone. So, there's a lot of sort of sleight of hand, rabbit in the hat stuff, where people go to, I want to ask that guy for advice because, he's got the juice produced 20-inch arm, but he doesn't have a clue how he got there, other than, take 3 cc's of this and 1 cc of that. And, I said we weren't going to get into that, and I'm already into it. So let me go back to the biomechanics, because I love, you just put everything in easy to understand terms. We've got a few left, probably only got time for one. Let's talk, your choice, the biggest fallacy behind either Olympic lifts in training or kettlebell training. Well, you take the ball with whatever one you want.
Well, let's combine them. How about that? Let's combine them. Okay.
All right.
Let's combine them, and let's talk about a kettlebell one-arm snatch, which gives you the Olympic weightlifting explosiveness, work divided by time, force times speed thing. And it gives you the whole kettlebell genre of the stability for the wrist and all this other crap. All right. So number one, that is the worst exercise for power. Why? Many reasons. Number one, you can't handle a vertical power exercise such as the snatch alone is for vertical ascending power. What they call the triple extension mechanism, ankle extension, knee extension, hip extension, simultaneous. Okay, great. The problem is that life doesn't occur in a parallel stance, vertically jumping, especially in basketball, volleyball, where you have a lead up step. There's no vertical production of force in these movements. These movements are simply transferring horizontal momentum, okay, to vertical momentum. And the proof of that is, look at these people's knee flexion, hip flexion, and dorsiflexion in the jumps. And you'll see that it's about 15 to 20 degrees of flexion. That's it. The knees are nowhere near 90s. And the heels are off the ground. So the snatch, for especially a moving vertical, whether it's one leg or two leg, is bullshit. That's number one. The specificity doesn't support it because they're jumping off the balls of their feet, not flat-footed, the way you generate forces during Olympic lifts. Any one-arm snatch move, I don't care if it's kettlebell or dumbbell, is not going to generate the same power at the hips than you would if you were holding a barbell with 2 arms. So if you're looking just purely vertical power, a bar with a high pull will outperform any single one-arm Olympic lift that you can do. Hands down, period. The math is there. You can't deny it. Okay?
So you're not saying these things are valueless. You're saying
that they're almost useless for generating forces for vertical jump in a basketball player, in a volleyball player. That's not what they do. It's nowhere near it. The mechanism at the ankle, at the knee, at the hip is incorrect. Period. End of story. And from a pure mechanics, okay, I can do a high pull. For example, anybody that's decently strong can do a high pull with a two and a quarter. You can strap them on and they can just do high pulls with 2 1/4. There's no clean, there's no snatching, there's no nothing. Not too many people can snatch 2 1/4, period. Okay. And nobody that I know can snatch 2 1/4 with 1 arm.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, the mechanics kill you, the specificity kills you. And then we have the little issue of the ball and chain with the kettlebell. You have to negotiate that ball around the hand. Right. That takes away from what you could do. So anybody with the same strength could do more weight with a 1-arm dumbbell snatch.
Thank you. My God.
They can with a kettlebell snatch.
So JC, just interrupt you for 1 sec, just because it brings back memories. I did a presentation where I said that exact thing. That for most of the kettlebell movements, not only can you mimic them with the dumbbell, but you're probably better off doing them with a dumbbell. 100%. And they tried to eat my lunch for me. They were having none of that. The kettlebell, it's a special piece of equipment, don't you know?
No, the kettlebell Taliban will kill you.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. No, they'll come out. It's just like the CrossFit ISIS people, you know.
Yeah.
You know. No, they don't want to hear it, because you have to understand they can't question it, because if they question it, their whole existence is going to go in the ether, and they can't have that. So they'd rather attack anything that challenges that. But the math doesn't stand either, and a little bit stands in their way. Facts, math, specificity, biomechanics. It's just everything stands against them. Period. You can't defend it. Sorry. So no, they both suck.
When did common sense stop being common? Like a lot of the stuff you said, like learn by doing and stuff. I mean, I worked this stuff out with the kettlebell, dumbbell differentiation, association, by being in the gym and using the equipment and going, no, this is better. This is more efficient. This dumbbell is better than this kettlebell for this particular movement. Why is that not common sense? Like, it just do it and feel it.
Because you and I don't have anything at stake. We don't load being right that much, because we don't care about being right. We care about exploration and using the best scenario. So when you and I look, Pavel Zaciulini sent me his kettlebell set. That's the kettlebell set that lives at IHP. Right. From the man himself, from Pavel. I gave him my library of videos. He gave me his set of kettlebells. Right. So I got indoctrinated into kettlebells by like the premier dude. Right. And I went and I did my swings, and I did my swings for 2 minutes, for 5 minutes, my 500 rep swing. I did them. I also did Olympic weightlifting, and I competed till I was 40, at the US Open. So I did it. And then I'm going, okay, how come this is not making me a better judo player? How come if I don't do it, I'm equally as explosive? Why? So then did I ever need it? Does this thing help? And if it doesn't, or if it's not optimal, why is it not optimal? And I need to know that, because I can't continue to use this with judo players, and then with basketball players, and then with all of this. And then you start looking at it. Okay, why is it that I'm not using it and I'm getting great results? And why is it that when I did use it, my results didn't jump out, off the chain? And you start looking at mechanics.
Yeah, and principles. People just don't like. Why are there some magic tools and not like I used to say all the time? Why do we need to get certified in the kettlebell, but there's no such animal for the dumbbell?
No, I
Why
mean,
is one so much more special? Let's get certified in this tool, but not this tool. And then I would always make the comparison to the carpenter, right? The master carpenter who goes to his toolbox and he's got 8 or 9 tools that he's used for 30 years. And the new, the new apprentice, he's got a brand new toolbox with 60 tools in it that are all shiny and new, and most of them never touched because they're not applicable to anything.
yeah, but you want to know what? He's certified in each tool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By doing though. By doing. Yeah.
So my whole I kind of like said, if you're a karate master, do you go out now and get certified in front kicks? Do you get certified in a ridge hand? No, it's all part of being the karate master, right? Okay, so why do we need dumbbell certifications, kettlebell certifications, stability ball certifications, all these certifications? Well, there's a certain reason you need them, and that's because the market asks for them. And if you're in the market and your job is to make money, you can just say, well, I won't sell out and live under a bridge because you can't afford food, okay? Or you can say, well, you know what, they want certifications. Well, everybody else is giving them certifications. I guess I'm going to give them certifications, but I'm going to give them certifications in a way that I can sleep at night. Right. And that's part of adapting to the times. I'm not a social media dude. I don't know Messenger from Facebook, Facebook, or MySpace. To me, it's all gibberish. Right. And time will prove you and I right. Social media is one of the worst things that's happened to our society, although it's got many benefits.
And our industry.
And, well, society.
Yes.
In general. And our industry is part of that. And now we're coming up with the latest studies on social media that it's actually killing our youth, making them dumber, and suicide rates are up.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with all that.
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
So now they're looking at controlling phones because we're creating little addicts to these machines.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, so my whole thing is, you and I don't put that much stake on being right, but we live in this society, so we have to play the social media, game. You doing your podcast, me having my son do the IGs and FBs and all that. But I'm not going to sell out within the context of having to use whatever's available in society now, what the trends are, to be able to survive. Because if not, we don't survive. You and I were talking about reinventing ourselves at 60.
Yeah.
We have to. Unless you just want to retire, go fishing, then that's fine. If you're there and you got that kind of flow, then do it. But if you're going to get in the game, you got to get in the ring. And the new ring is a little bit different than you and I were raised in.
Yeah, well, it's a lot different. I think, and don't even get me, that's on, again, another podcast, but what you say about, well, we don't need to be right, it reminds me of a Warren Buffett quote that I think both of us would subscribe to, and Warren Buffett said, look, I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. I just need to be the most effective.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They say, you want to be right or you want to be happy? I want to be happy.
Right. But when it comes to helping the people that pay us to help them, we want to be effective.
Yeah, but results make you happy. When we're effective, we're happy.
Yeah.
And if it means that, hey, you know what? I used to do balance 15 years ago and now I don't do any of it. Hey, in my many of my videos, I've got exercises that I think now that are stupid, but that was the best I had at the time.
Exactly. That people say that to me too. Well, you changed your diet and you changed this and you changed that. And I'm like, well, yeah. Because the research is available. The research is overwhelming. It's not, I don't have to stay with what I did 20 years ago for the sole reason that it's what I did 20 years ago.
For not changing your mind. Yeah. No,
that makes sense.
My mind, they're going to think that I'm wrong and they're going to think I don't know anything. And
yeah, it's quite the opposite usually. Now, speaking of knowing things, we should close on this. I knew this would go fast. Next time, I definitely want the basketball you've mentioned a few times, and I wanted to get into that because I wanted to talk about anatomical leverage, and I wanted to talk about how you mentioned it in your book, but I think I want to go deeper with it because I've talked about that before, like, what's the right movement for guys that are 7 feet tall with the longest limbs in the world and trying to use implements and moving through that full range of motion without jeopardizing their joints. And leave that for next time. I just want you to mull on that. But speaking of, but it's all, I have my own ideas, but I'd rather hear from you. But,
yeah, but I mean, that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. Don't have guys with big lever arms do what you do with little lever arm guys, guys.
Yeah, for our people that don't even understand what that means. So your basketball players who are 6'11", are they squatting? Are they benching? Are they, like just yes or no?
Yes, they are, but they're doing it differently. My criteria for them is totally different.
Exactly.
So a tall guy may only do a quarter squat.
Okay.
You see, because if you look at how he jumps, he only jumps through that quarter squat range.
Okay.
So that 90 degrees of knee flexion, all that goes out the door.
Exact for that particular reason.
That particular guy for that particular movement. Yeah.
Right. Because you're not worried about creating strength disparities that'll lead to injury around the joints and blah blah blah. No. See, I told you we should leave it.
Guys are jumping 36, 40 inches. What strength disparity? They're already putting a lot of forces on their joints, and all I need to do is make them only strong enough to be able to do those movements. I don't need them at 300 pounds, 400 pounds. That's all invented numbers. That's all. It's a criteria that's non-existent. So make them strong enough where they can jump the whole game and jump for 20 years. That's it.
Not how much they lift, it's how they lift it.
Yeah, and I wish I knew what the number was. I wish I knew if it was 150, 200 pounds. I don't know. But
but you said even with your own training, the quantification thing is misleading, right? At best.
How are you going to know that? You know what I do? I do a little bit, and I see how they are. Yeah. And then I do a little bit more, and I see when they stop improving in that jump, in that throw, in that takedown, in that speed, when they stop improving, that lift has reached its optimal strength. If it's 75 pounds on the squat, then it's 70 pounds on the squat. He ain't going to 120, not on my watch.
Excellent.
Optimal strength is a very interesting biomechanical and training concept.
Subject to interpretation or no?
Not the way we define it. So optimal strength is the strength the strength level where more strength does not result in a performance gain.
In better performance, right.
So let's say if I get you and you got a 20-inch vertical and you're squatting 180 pounds, okay, boom, 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 for fives. And we get you up to 2.25. And now instead of 20 inches, now you're at 26 inches. Then we get you to 275. Ooh, you're at 28 inches. I'm seeing that the point of diminishing return is coming soon. Then you're at 300 and you're at 30. And then you're at 325 and you are at 30 and a half.
Yeah.
No more 325. 30 is your sweet spot. Done. I'm not looking for 400, 500. The race is not in the gym. And
it's hard to get them to leave their egos out of it. But anyway, let's stop there for this time.
Education. Remember, well, think about this. If Bill Pearl gave you advice that was contrary to what you think, or what you thought at the time, you would say, damn, I love Bill Pearl, man. I think this guy's a god. And if he says, I eat grass, I'm eating grass. And if he says not to do bench presses anymore, I'm not doing them, because you respect him so much. If you're that coach to that client, they'll listen to you.
And unfortunately, among the clients, that kind of understanding of respect for expertise is pretty much non-existent anymore, right? They don't know the difference. It's like I said earlier, talking about the steroid guy, like, I'm going to do whatever he tells me because, he's got 21-inch arms from, 5 cc's of testosterone a week. From
my bodybuilding perspective, yes. A lot of people will go for the shiny object, in this case, the steroids and the easy way out. From a performance perspective, the thing is winning. And strength coaches now, the gurus, they're starting to get leverage on the athletes. And when they tell the athletes don't do it, the athletes more and more and more are valuing what professional strength coaches are offering.
Well, that's good.
And as personal training develops and you get more places like IHP that are professional, I think the whole industry will have, look, you're always going to have your YouTube experts that don't know shit, right? But when you go into a place, you got to look at somebody in the eye. You got to see their demeanor, the way they walk, the way they talk. And that starts to go, that starts to give them legitimacy, you know? You'll see that it's not a cap sideways. It's not like, yo, it's not that. Nobody's gonna come to you, Scott, and go, this guy, I don't know if I want to do what this guy says, because your presence says, dude, I've been in wars, okay? And I'm telling you right now, when you come in here, we're gonna talk, I'm gonna listen, but I'm the guy directing this. And I know what you want. If you trust me, that's the only way we're gonna work. And if you don't, there's another place for you, but this is not it. When you're that straight up with somebody, people go, okay, I'm in good hands. Right. Or the pretenders will go, oh no, he's too heavy for me. And they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Chasing the next coach to blame is what I call it, because they're never going to get there with that attitude.
Chasing the next syringe, chasing the next handshake, shake weight. The next panacea, and they're going to be chasing. They're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, no, I've talked about that till I'm blue in the face. Anyway, we should cut it out here, but I want to get into that stuff next time. And it was a while getting you back, but I'm glad you're back and back regularly, and people will be glad to hear that. But I smiled the first time we reconnected because you were saying, well, I need to wait a couple of days. I've got a contingency in here from China. So that's expertise, folks. When they're going halfway across the world to hear from an expert, and they don't even speak the language, and they bring a translator with them. I think that speaks a lot to where you're at. It's too bad that right in your own backyard. There's an old saying, right? I'm a bum in my own backyard and a hero everywhere else. And that becomes more and more. That becomes more and more real as we get older, right? Like all these people that I tell JC Santana that, okay, I'll check him out. What's that name again? And meanwhile, they're coming to see you from China. They know who you are, but it always makes me
all of South America. But you know what? Maybe there's a new era. Like I said, I'm reinventing myself with the social media. Maybe in 5 years, JC Santana may have a resurgence in this new culture, in this new mind, So I'm in it, man. I'm nowhere near done. I'm going to be 60 this year. I am all in it.
I think real expertise is coming back around. I mean, even when I was coming up and I had my own following, right? Like it was still that Bill Pearl was still lecturing at the same spots I was, and he was 72, right? So I was like, oh, Bill's lecturing with me today. This is, he's 72, right? So I got a lot of years to go yet. And it reminds me of, I'm a big movie buff, right? So every so often movie lines pop into my head. You know the movie Roadhouse?
Yes.
Kind of a classic.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the movie, the guy goes in to hire the adult character, Patrick Swayze, and he goes, well, I want you. Why do you want me? Well, I want the best. I'm not the best. My mentor's the best. Well, I still want you, right? So just like, in and amongst ourselves and amongst the experts, we kind of know who's full of hot air and who's, so the more credence and the more time and energy I can give to the people. I mean, there's nothing like the respect of your peers, right? I could have 100 gym goers tell me I'm awesome, but when when Bill Pearl told me I was awesome and on the right track, that, I don't need 100 of anybody. No, you know what I mean? So it's the same here. So whatever I can do for you and us, but I think it's coming back around. I really agree with you. I think expertise will come back into its own. And for my listeners right now, like I said at the beginning, if you didn't hear expertise in this, then you don't know what real expertise is. And it's
okay. We're here to teach you. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. That's our job. Scott and I will teach you about expertise, and they draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, and not only our own expertise, but how they can get the results they want. And and like I said, I mean, just listening to you speak. If they're not motivated to go out and do something, then they're not listening on an emotional level either. Because that's one of the things that initially attracted me to you, watching your stuff 10, 11 years ago. I'm like, yeah, walking the talk and excited to do it. Like, like just, none of this like cold lecture, like, yeah, you were in it. You're still in it. And where are your next appearances? I think you said you're going to be in Ottawa soon, right?
We're going to be in Ottawa, but before that, we'll be in Lima, Peru.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Then we go to Shanghai and Beijing. Then we're going to go to Brazil, then Argentina, Costa Rica. We'll do Panama. So we're going to be around. I don't want to travel that much this year, so we're going to keep it under 12.
That's not traveling too much? Holy crap. I'm tired just listening.
I used to do over 30 domestic dates. Then I went to 27 international, then down to 22, down to 18. Last year I did 15. This year I want to do 12.
Wow. Well, I hope in all that you still make time for us and my listeners, and we got to get out. We got to get it out there, brother. And again, I'm just going to hold this up. And on the YouTube channel, I mean, we'll post the actual books. There's the new one, JC's Total Body Transformation. There's Functional Training, and there's also Essence of Program Design, which should be the first JC book that everyone gobbles up and internalizes and absorbs. But thanks, brother. And we'll look to do this again sooner than later, hopefully. And
let me know. I'm here till the 30th of March, so we can do this again for sure.
All right, we'll get a few sessions in weekly, and then I'm sure once you're gone for that period of time, people will be saying, "Where's JC? Where's JC?"
Then we'll be the following week with him. Don't worry about it. We'll do it again. Thank you, Scott.
All right, brother. Cheers.
Cheers.